Hello and welcome back to Headphone Highlights. We're going to talk about Koss again today. Last time we talked about Koss, we highlighted the Porta Pros. They're a wonderful, amazing 1980s themed, little portable, super ridiculously cheap headphone that is a price to performance that's extremely difficult to beat, and we love them. But Koss makes lots of other really great budget-friendly headphones. This next headphone from Koss, we've actually already taken a brief look at. I showcased these headphones in our $20 IEM Showdown video. But here they are. These are the Koss KSC75s. And they really could not be much more simple. They really are just a, almost, they're not IEMs because they don't go in your ear. But they are very small, very portable, very simple little headphones. They do not have a headband of any kind, and they are, for lack of a greater understanding around it, they really are pretty much your Porta Pro, but without the headband. Take a look at that. I mean, they're almost identical in size in terms of the driver. Are they the exact same drivers? I don't know for sure, so I won't say whether or not they are. But when we get to sound, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Anyway, here they are. Let's look at the build a little bit. They're very, very simply built, and it's a lot of, simple plastics and simple metals. The actual shell of the housing on the driver is a hard plastic. You can hear that. Then the little hinge right here is also plastic that is surrounding this metal bar. And this metal bar goes from the hinge up, takes a right-hand turn here, and then becomes this little wing. And this wing is how the headphone attaches to your ear. Let me grab this one so I can show you how this works. Instead of obviously it's not an in-ear headphone, it's still an on-ear headphone. And how this works is this little rubber wing goes around the back side of your ear here. And it's really simple to put on. It's simply just put it over, kind of twist it, and you're done. Put it on both ways, and there it is. And that's exactly how it sits. It could not be much more simple than that. So yeah, there's nothing in my ear. The drivers are just resting very gently on my ears, and they're being held on pretty well, I have to say. Like, I'm not worried about them being super loose and falling off my head by just this very simple little plastic rubberized wing here. It could not be much more simple, but it is very effective. In terms of the driver itself, we don't have much in terms of an ear pad. We have instead this kind of very, very small, thin, light, soft foam, which does the job. It's perfectly comfortable. It's not, your big honking over-ear, ridiculously cushiony loveliness, but for what it's trying to do, it's perfectly serviceable and perfectly good. It is a permanently attached cable, as you can see. And the cable itself is pretty whatever. It's not much to really talk about. It is a very, very basic cable, but for a budget headphone like this, you can't really expect much else. Here at the termination, we do have a Koss little logo there, and it does terminate to a simple 3.5 millimeter, and it's also a slight right angle. So lots of indication here that these are meant to be a portable headphone. The cable quality is fine. It doesn't really have any kind of special weaving or anything like that. It is a simple rubberized cable, and it will just deliver that. I mean, there's not a whole lot else to really talk about. It's just a cable. I will point out, however, that these are the basic version of these headphones that you can find on Amazon. What I do have, though, which might be of interest to you, is a very simple variant. here we go. These are also just plain Jane KSC75s, but as you can see, they're all black. That's because these are the drop version of them. As far as I could tell, in terms of sound and performance, there is almost no change. But if you look here closely, you will notice instead of silver, we have black. If you're an edgelord like me, you might prefer that. But nevertheless, yes, a black version instead of a silver version. But also, you're getting some changes with the cable. With the cable, it is a slightly, if you look here, the cable is a little bit thinner compared to the original. As you can see, thicker here, thinner here. There's some other changes as well. If we keep going down the cable, we will find this. So this, the drop version of the KSC75s actually do come with a microphone, if that is important to you. I've never used the microphone. I don't have a need for that. So that doesn't really mean much to me, but you might think differently about it. Nevertheless, the drop version does come with a microphone, while the regular version does not. If we keep going and looking at the cable, we see some more changes. So now, here at the main section of the cable, rather than it having a two-split cable coming into the termination like so, it is instead just a single cable going into a termination. The termination has also changed. This is the original termination with the Koss logo, and then here is the drop termination, which is a lot more simple, a lot more small, and I guess you can maybe make the argument that it's also maybe a little bit more elegant, but it serves the same purpose. These are the same headphone. They just happen to be a little different in certain ways. They are also the same price. The KS75s, whether you have the drop version or the actual version, are $20. That's two $10 bills. $20, that's it. That is an incredible deal no matter who you are. So that's amazing. I'm gonna get these out of the way here, and we're gonna focus again on just the regular ones. Very simple build, but also very effective. How do they feel though? What's the comfort on these? Because unlike typical IEMs, where the comfort is really dependent on how you feel about having things in your ear, these are on-ear headphones. So I feel like we could talk a little bit more about the comfort. And as I've already pointed out, putting them on is really, really simple. That's all I needed to do. Take them, twist it, and they're on, and they're not going to go anywhere. These are a very open headphone, just like the Porta Pros. They're very, very open. I can hear everything in my room here. I hear my fan, I hear the humming of my computer. There's no sound isolation with these. If anything, I'd say there's probably even a little bit less sound isolation than there are with the Porta Pros, because the way that these sit on your head is very dependent on how much they kind of squeeze your ear. And when I say squeeze your ear, that might kind of give you this, it might give you this image of some discomfort, but it's really not. The simple rubberized wing of these things is really only rubberized just enough to be tacky enough that it holds on. So there's not a whole lot of pressure of the wing squeezing my ear against the driver. That's not what's happening. More so, it's just this little space right here. My ear is very finely sitting inside of it, and then the friction of the foam pad and the rubberized wing are what kind of keep it on my ear. It's really quite comfortable. These things weigh nothing. The majority of the construction is plastic. They weigh nothing at all. So you could walk around with these, and I have, and I still do, doing whatever you want. Do your daily chores, go shopping for your groceries, hell, go to the gym and run on the treadmill. These are not going to fall off, and the little foam padding on these is really easy to just kind of take off and put away somewhere to let dry if you get some sweat on there. It's not a big deal. So they're very, very comfortable. I will say though, yes, the little like clampingness, the little pinchingness on the ear here is extremely minimal. Extremely minimal. You really barely notice it. However, that might very well change depending on your ear size. If you have a very large ear that is maybe, you know, kind of thick, your mileage might vary. The pinch might be a little bit more significant for you. For me, it's perfectly fine. However, I will fully admit that after prolonged sessions of this, it can get a little bit fatiguing. Just a little, and when I say prolonged, I mean several hours. If I'm sitting here and I'm doing a live stream, by the 2.5 hour mark, now I'm starting to actually feel a little bit of discomfort with them. So only through really, really long listening sessions is it going to bother you. And if you're being active while wearing these, you're probably too distracted by what you're doing to even notice. So the comfort is fantastic. In terms of our comfort cloud scale, it's a little bit different because, yeah, these are just a very different kind of way of fitting a headphone than, say, our typical on-ear, not on-ear, but over-ear headphones. But all in all, I'll say these are a solid 8, maybe even 8.5. Cloud comforts. Comfort clouds, whatever. They're great. Ridiculously comfortable, ridiculously light. And they're built very, very simply. So the sound, the most obvious comparison to make is how do they compare with the Porta Pros? Again, I don't know this for certain, but I almost am willing to say that they are the same driver. They sound so incredibly similar that it's hard to think otherwise. So I mean, if you look at these things, I'm pretty sure you can even actually pop these off if I really wanted to. I'm not going to. I mean, here, look at this. It's just the same thing, right? It's the exact same size. It's just in a different housing. Who knows? You know, maybe they are different. I don't really know, but they certainly are very, very, very similar. Not just in their size and the physical nature of them, but they have an extremely similar sound signature, almost indistinguishable from each other. However, there is a distinguishing factor. The Porta Pros have clamp force going against your head because they operate a lot more like a traditional headphone. I get this headband out, and now there is some clamp force, as you can see here. So the Porta Pros really put more pressure of the driver onto your ear, okay? Because of that clamp force. The connection of the driver to your ear with the KS75s is wholly dependent on how tight of a fit it is with your little plastic rubberized wing here. So for me, the difference is these sit directly on my ear and even compress a little bit on my ear. And that allows for a very nice, very direct connection between my ear and the driver. With these, the connection, there's not the same kind of force of the driver being pushed against my ear, so it's a lot more loose. I don't mean the fit is loose, but I mean that the driver is not literally not pushing against my head and pushing against my ear, is just lightly floating on my ear. And what that does result in is a little bit less of that kind of directness to the sound. You're not getting the same kind of directional feedback from the driver as you do with the Porta Pros, because these are not pushing those drivers as physically close to your ear as the Porta Pros do. I think that makes sense. So yes, they sound extremely similar to the Porta Pros. They're still extremely relaxing, extremely warm. They're very wide. They're very mid-range focus with a slight emphasis in the low end. And the treble is fairly recessed, avoiding any sort of hot spots or sibilance. Vocal presence is very, very nice. It's all very, very similar to the Porta Pros. However, because you're not getting that same kind of pressure and that same kind of connection to the driver, it's just like it's just a little bit less. At least for me, because of the way they fit on my ear, it just feels a little bit less. And I can tell the difference. If I put these on as I'm wearing them right now and I just simply do this, boop, push them more against my ear, now they sound exactly like the Porta Pros. But because of the way they sit, it's just a little bit looser, so the drivers are a little bit further away, so you're getting a little bit less of everything. It's just, you're getting a little less of it. I would say, you know, in general, you probably need to turn these up a little bit more in terms of volume than you do your Porta Pros. That being said, they power almost identically. They're very, very, very easy to drive. So that being said, they still sound amazing. And comparing them directly to other IEMs, as I did in that $20 IEM video, it is very difficult for even some of the better IEMs that I own to compete with these. Again, these are $20, and they're going toe-to-toe with IEMs that are $50 to $75, maybe even $100. And I'm still preferring them over those IEMs. I might be a little bit biased against IEMs because I really don't like the way IEMs feel, but I know how good IEMs can sound. And even then, I still more often than not will choose these over an IEM, because yeah, they're more comfortable for me, but also just the sound performance is ridiculous. They sound amazing. It is extremely difficult to compete at that price range when these exist. When these or the Porta Pros. The Porta Pros are a $30 headphone. These are a $20 headphone. So you're looking at a $10 difference. But man, oh man, is it a hell of a performer. Once again, as I said in the video of the Porta Pros, these are a no-brainer in terms of like a stocking stuffer kind of headphone. A headphone that you can just get for people who have never really heard really nice, good, clean, wonderful audio and have been stuck with their little, you know, in-ear buds that they've gotten with their phones, you know, or had just buy their stuff at Best Buy. These sound amazing, and the price is, you just can't beat it. You can't. So yeah, the KSC75s, they're fantastic. They're Porta Pros without the headband. I mean, what else can you say? They're amazing. They're fantastic. I love them. I love them. And they're so damn cheap. Just try them. Try them out. If you don't like them, get the Porta Pros. I mean, really, it's that simple. Or, alternatively, you can wait for our next Koss video, which will feature another budget-friendly Koss headphone that is actually a little bit different. So you can look forward to that. Thank you very much for watching. Very happy to have you here with us and watching my big fat head rant about headphones. If you want to support the channel, the best thing you can possibly do to support the channel is just to share it. Share this video, share other videos, get more people seeing this stuff. That way I have more incentive to just do more of this, because this is fun for me, especially if I know that people are watching and are being affected by it. So thank you again. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.